Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're in the studio, which means we are live. So get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. We've had a bit of I'll say a breaking story, because that's a bit excessive. It's not a breaking story. But we've had a somewhat surprising story regarding United being linked with a striker. I'm going to get into all that. Also, we'll be looking at a little bit ahead to the Brentford game. There's a couple of quotes in that front, although we've not had the press conference yet. That is going to come out later on today. And plus, we'll have me and Joe will do a preview for the Brentford game after we've had the press conference, after we've had some injury updates, although we did have a bit of injury news last night, which we will be getting into. So make sure, before we get into any of that, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Smash a like, as the kids say. Right, let's talk about this. In fact, before we get into that, I'll say some hellos. Loads of people in the chat. Akash K, Santa Notch, Jacoya Trot, Moon Hoyland, Robert Tator, Maurice Marshall, Ben Hayes. Good to see you all. Right, let's talk about Benjamin Sesko, because United have been linked with him. You can see this in Give Me Sport. I also saw this in Mail Plus. I think Mail Plus is behind a paywall. So we've got it here from Give Me Sport, and it says here, Manchester United are interested in RB Leipzig forward Benjamin Sesko, who is expected to depart the Bundesliga club next summer. Mail Online journalist Sami Mokbel. So Sami Mokbel did this piece in the Mail Plus, I think it was. Spoke about the fact that United are looking at Sesko, the fact that he's available in the summer. You can see it all there. And then he's been banging a few goals as well this season already in the Champions League. I think he's got 6 goals in 9 appearances in all competitions this season, so he's doing well. Last season it was 18 in 42. Season before that, when he was in Austria for RB Salzburg, it was 18 in 41. So he's a pretty consistent goal scorer. He's only 21, let's not forget. So he's still a young lad, very tall, 6'5", I think he is. So he's a big lad. Scores goals, very young. So you look at him, you think, okay, there's every chance he can go take it up a notch. United have been linked with him in the past. Looks like there could be something in that. It's one to keep an eye on, because I still feel like United are a little bit short up front. Do we take a punt on this 21-year-old? A goal-scoring 21-year-old? Do we need someone who's more established? Get involved in the chat and the comments and let me know what you think about Sesko. Is he a player that excites you? When you hear Benjamin Sesko to United, what do you make of that? Is that when you go, yeah, count, that'd be great, that'd be a great move? Or do you think, no? Corin Howard says, Jay, what will be your front line? Well, we haven't got Sesko, so let's just forget that one for now. I'm torn on this one. I really am. Because there's a part of me that feels like Bruno needs a breather, and a part of me that feels you could almost put Zikrzee in that 10 and put Hoyland in front of him, and then have a midfield of, well, I was going to say a midfield of maybe Kobbie Mainoo, but we don't even know if either of them are fit. So I don't know is the answer to it. For this weekend, it's probably going to be, depending on whether Kobbie is available, Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno in your midfield, which I think means your front three. I expect it to be Rashford, Hoyland, Garnacho on the right, maybe. If it was up to me, Diallo would start, and if it was also up to me, I'd probably try and see if you could work out a way of maybe having Zikrzee in a 10 and Hoyland in front of him, but not now, not right now with some of the injuries we've got in midfield. I think that's asking too much of the midfielders we've got available. Let's talk about Kobbie Mainoo, because we said this yesterday. I think United Menace tweeted it. He's very reliable. He was right, as he often is. It says Manchester United, Kobbie Mainoo is expected to be sidelined for 7 games due to a muscle injury. Devastating that, to be honest with you. Yes, he could do with a breather, but we don't want him getting injured. That's not the sort of breather he wants. We need to use Kobbie Mainoo in the right way. He obviously missed out on the England games because he wasn't fully fit. He picked up an injury in the 0-0 draw against Villa, apparently. He'd already picked up an injury, I think, against Spurs. So he's been in the wars, the kid. We have got to manage Kobbie Mainoo in the right way, and I am a little bit worried that we're going to misuse him, overplay him, ask him to do too much. He's already in a midfield where I think he's having to do a lot of running. Probably a little bit too much, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Now he's picked up this knock. He's only 19. He only made his Premier League debut less than a year ago. It's easy to forget that because of how good he's been and the phenomenal rise he's had, going from making your Premier League debut to playing in the Euros final within 7 months or whatever it was. So it has been a sort of stratospheric rise, but we do have to remember this is a kid who is still developing both physically and as a player as well. And Manchester United need to be careful with him. Players get injured. I'm not saying he's got injured, that's all down to Manchester United. Players will get injured, but one thing I don't want us to do is rush him back. Got to be careful with this kid because he is, for me, amazing. and you have to handle them in the right way. We've mishandled too many youngsters at Manchester United over the last few years, and we need to make sure we don't do it with Kobbie Mainoo. Otherwise, I will be raging. Says Zikrzee can play different roles. Rather have Vlahovic than Sesko, though. Vlahovic, is it Juve, innit? And L says, Jay, I wouldn't mind seeing Ahmad in the 10. You know, he has played in the 10. I think he played for Sunderland there. I think he's even played there briefly for Manchester United in pre-season. Not a bad one. Not a bad one at all. Nick S says, evening from Australia, Jay. Evening, Nick S. Santa Nut says, 7 games seems very precise. It does. Stephanie Griffiths says, good morning, Jay. Good morning to you too. Akash K says, Jay talking facts as usual. Appreciate that. Glenn F says, morning, Jay. Give Bruno a free roll and play Zikrzee at the 10. Brian Casey says, morning, Jay. Hope you're well. Happy Friday. Yep, happy Friday to you all. Hit that like button, please, people. Let's get to 100 likes. Come on. What are we on? 41. We can do better than that. Players return to training. The interesting one here is Mazraoui in training. We heard that he had this sort of cardio issue, didn't he? His issue with his heart. It was, there you go, you can see it. Underwent a minor precautionary corrective procedure. There's a mouthful. Minor precautionary corrective procedure. Okay. It gets even worse. After experienced palpitations in the goalless draw with Villa before the international break. He was expected to be out for a few weeks, but has already been pictured back in training. We'll get an update from the manager there, I think, today. The press conference is this afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see whether Mazraoui is available. If he is, that solves a massive headache for Erik ten Hag. Because I was speaking about this yesterday. If you're missing potentially a guy, we don't know. He went off, I think, with a knock in the Uruguay-Ecuador draw. Kobbie Mainoo and Mazraoui, that's 3 players that are probably going to start. I know Ugarte didn't start the last couple of games, but I think when all's said and done, he does start football matches for Manchester United. So if you're missing 3 players that would start, it's not great, is it? Especially that left-back position. Mazraoui not being available means that you can't play the low at left-back and have Mazraoui at right-back. It means you're probably going to have to bring in someone like Victor Lindelof or Lisandro Martinez, push him out to the left, maybe even Jonny Evans. There's been rumours about that. Not ideal, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let's talk about a new beer sponsor. Crikey, it's all happening. Man United hint at new global strategy as Ineos land $4 million deal. Right, okay, so this is in the evening news. Manchester United have landed a new beer sponsor in the form of Asian brewery giant Tiger Beer. It's reported worth $4 million per year. Right, okay, nice one. Let's move on. Happy days. Well, I'm not going to lose my, I'm not going to get too giddy about a new beer sponsor, especially because they don't drink. Let's talk about Jonny Evans. Jonny Evans has been given an interview. He spoke to Melissa Reddy on Sky Sports. I love Jonny Evans. He's just ace, isn't he? It's mad because when we brought him back, you thought we'd bring him back for a couple of friendlies. Yeah, he'd probably be here for a couple of games and that's it. So you just go down again. Go down. Manchester United defender Jonny Evans speaks exclusive to Sky Sports, head of Premier League game against Brentford. Evans, I've been around football for a long time. I know when the dressing room's pushing and we're doing everything we can here to push. So he's sort of being positive. He's saying, look, we're all on the same page here. We're doing everything we can. We are pushing forward. Jonny Evans has been a breath of fresh air, hasn't he, since his return. I mean, he's basically not had a bad game, to be honest with you. He's also, I think maybe Palace, but he was injured. Evans on ten Hag, he's a very strong-minded man, and I admire him for that. You see that he's very principled in the way he wants to work and the way he's as a person, and he very rarely changes. He shows a real sort of strength and who he believes that he is and who he wants to be. And I admire him for that sort of strength and courage to continue. He's always very positive and his message is always the same and very consistent. It's important, I suppose, because that's the job of the coaches, is to create that environment and culture within the club that we still keep pushing and improve the results and obviously the league position. So Jonny Evans there, say the right things. Good to see that. Hopefully he'll, have a word with some of his teammates and everyone is on the same page and we can move forward as a club. Listen, whether you've lost faith or you have faith in Erik ten Hag is waning or not, we all want Manchester United to succeed. I'd love Erik ten Hag to turn it around. I've been a little bit sceptical of me over the last couple of weeks. The Spurs game rattled me, I'm not going to lie to you. It did. But I think that if we can get going again, get everyone on the same page, if Erik ten Hag can be the manager we all want him to be, then that's happy days for all concerned. You can see there's another quote here. Rude spoke the other day about the fact it's a game and getting back there to when you're a kid playing football and going out and competing. I think that's where everyone wants to get to, the sort of new place where you're not affected by outside noise. So yeah, looks like he's certainly saying the right things. Hopefully his teammates agree and hopefully Manchester United Football Club can start moving forward. Here's one for you. Zikrzee compared to Erik Cantona. Let's have a look at this. This is in the People's Person, and this is about Zirkzee's youth coach, and he says, Joshua's attitude is a bit like Cantona's. He's got that confidence, but he's not doing it for the cameras. Right, you can get rid of that. Thanks for that. The thing with Zikrzee, right, so one of the rumours is that was doing the rounds yesterday, saw it online, was that Sesko's being looked as almost a replacement for Zikrzee. And I think that's insane. We're not trying to replace Joshua Zikrzee when he's only been here for, about 2 months. That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and I don't believe it for 1 minute. I think you do need another striker, and I think that's a striker coming in addition to Joshua Zikrzee. I don't think you're going to replace him now. He's, comparing him to Cantona, I get people are going to go, he's nothing like Erik Cantona. I think you're talking about the mentality and other things. I understand the point of view. I think with Zikrzee, it's getting a little bit where to the stage where people are doubting him. People are looking at it and they're not just giving him the benefit of the doubt of being new. People are going, he's not taking his chances. He's not scoring goals. I know he scored on his debut. Is he the right guy? And all this sort of jazz. For me, it's far too early. I think as a Manchester United striker, it can take you a long time to settle. We saw it a little bit with Rasmus Højlund. I know he banged in goals early doors in the Champions League, but it took him a long time to get going in the Premier League. And I think most people would agree Rasmus Højlund is a decent footballer, and he's a good footballer. Decent sounds like I'm underplaying his ability. So I think we've got to be patient with Joshua Zikrzee. It's not easy. No one likes being patient, but we'll have to wait and see. Brian Casey says, we definitely need another striker. Zikrzee isn't an out-and-out number 9. We still only have Højlund as our main man. Sabrijaj Adam says, so I don't know why I said it like that. Zikrzee needs to improve off the ball. Very languid. Akash K says, Jay, not sure about you, but I don't rate Sesko at all. I thought he was pure garbage at the Euros. Didn't impress me at the Euros. You've got to be careful with the Euros. Did Højlund impress you at the Euros? Do you rate Højlund? That's the thing. It can go either way. Like, Karol Poborski was amazing in the Euros, and he was not very good for Manchester United. And I'm going back about 30 years there or whatever. The Euros isn't, for me, the best way to assess a player's ability. And I always say this about international football and tournaments. Sometimes I think players in international tournaments can almost play the way out of a move rather than playing the way into one. So sometimes you can get players that have a great international tournament and will get signed on the back of it. But sometimes clubs will be looking at a player, they'll go away to their country, to a tournament, absolutely stink out the gaff, and then clubs will go, actually, he's not for us. I think it's easy for that to happen rather than to put yourself in the shop window. Not always, but sometimes. Tina Telefson Totoka says, Sesko Wilson cost 80 million in hell. Ineos is just like the Glazers. Santa Notch says, Foden wouldn't have impressed many people. Yours, great point, Notch. He didn't do a lot, did he? Phil Foden. If you were, I know he's not for sale, but if you were looking at Phil Foden and he was a signing you were going to make and you based that off, you said, all right, let's have a look at him for England in the Euros, would you still want him after that tournament? No, you base it off what he does for his club, I think. And if Sesko's doing well for Leipzig and he's banging in goals in the Bundesliga and he's banging in goals in the Champions League, that for me matters more than if he's scored a goal against, Denmark or whatever in the Euros. Donny van de Beek, what have we got here? Another one. Donny van de Beek's been speaking. I think it says here in an interview with The Athletic, the 27-year-old Netherlands international attributed his Old Trafford struggles to the setback, which disrupted his momentum and forced him to start again. I think he's talking a bit about his injury. He had, there's never a good time to get injured, but he had injuries at just awful times. He went to Everton and he missed half of the loan spell for injury. He comes back to Old Trafford. He's got a manager in Erik ten Hag that arrives who knows him. You think this is it, happy days. And then, I think it was against Bournemouth, wasn't it? He played against Bournemouth, gets injured, and he's out for the season. Really sad what happened with Donny van de Beek. You can see he managed just 62 appearances, scoring twice. I think that was in his first game and Ollie's last game, I think. A far cry from his Ajax form where he tallied 41 goals and 34 assists in 175 games. We never saw the best of Donny van de Beek. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted him. I don't think we knew what to do with him. I think he would have been a player that perhaps you would have chosen, if you were going to use him, it would have been him or Bruno, not him and Bruno. That never seemed to work. And I just feel like it was a bit of a move that was made for the sake of making a move. We can get him. Edwin van der Sar can make this deal happen. 35 million euros or 39 million quid. Not too shabby. Let's do it. Ballon d'Or nominee, let's not forget. But he wasn't that guy, was he? He wasn't the player we needed, and it didn't work for him. Ant L says, someone joined us from Ajax and didn't perform. Sounds familiar. Don't know what you mean, Ant L. Glenn F says, who thinks we're going to win tomorrow? You, Jay? I think we will. I think we will. Do you know what? Yeah, we're going to win. Sack it. We'll win. We'll win. We're going to have a preview later on. We're going to have Off the Bar as well later on. Plus, we're going to have the brew. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motti. This has been the Paper Talk live from the studio. Thanks for watching.